Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode from the USA Part 1. This week's episode covers some of my visits to the East Coast and the central component in the corn and soy belt. First off, I visited a guy called Steve Groff, who's a cover crop expert in Pennsylvania. You can see here a picture of a recently harvested wheat crop with a cover crop drilled straight in. He's been an innovator in cover crops and has had some significant results, increasing his soil organic matter from 2 to 5% in 20 years, reduced his chemicals, and basically always has a plant in the system. Here's a picture of some no-till cover crop pumpkins, so planted straight into a triticale stubble. So he's specialised some equipment to do it, so these crimper rollers, and quite often he will plant into a living crop and will terminate that living crop and have, for instance, the pumpkins emerge through it. So he was a really interesting guy to go and visit. After Steve, I went to visit the Rodale Institute, which is focused on sustainable agriculture. So they've been running their program since the 60s. Pretty well compost tea and cover crops are the foundation of what they do as well. They have a 30-year conventional versus organic trial, and there's significant differences in the soil. The organic component is getting close to the conventional in yield, and they have a similar to better gross margin in organics. They use this technology in crimper rollers as well, and it's really interesting to see how they do their thing. Next part of my visit was to Monsanto, and it's probably the inverse of what I saw at the Rodale Institute, but nevertheless it's astounding, the scale and the technology and innovation this company is using in agriculture. Most people will know Monsanto for chemicals and then gene and seed technology. They're continuing definitely with gene and seed technology, and they're now looking at biotech as well, and have a biotech program where they are selling in partnership with a company called Novozymes seed dressings and tip and go biology basically. So an example you can see here is control on the left, untreated versus treated with normal conventional fungicide and insecticide, but also root treatments, and you can probably see from this photo there is significantly greater root mass on the treated ones. Here's some product. So it's basically freeze-dried product that's tip and go. So this is for corn. This facility is at Chesterfield in Missouri. It's their research facility, which I visited. 250 acres of buildings, glass houses, 1,700 employees. Just incredible. They've got climate-controlled buildings, replicating systems from all over the world. So you can see soybeans growing in Brazil, cotton growing in Australia. Just incredible. They're expanding. The new building they're building on site is a $475 million expansion. Quite amazing. They've got their own engineering division, and they've built all their own technology, including seed chipping, which takes a chip, takes about 3% of it off, leaves it viable, but they can DNA test it, and they're rapidly improving the rate of DNA testing and plant breeding, which is incredible. They've got big ambitions. They want to be carbon neutral by 2021. Big ask. This facility alone had a $35,000 a day power bill. But quite incredible to see the technology and money that's being spent on ag research. And the last place I visited in the States on this trip is Fair Oaks Farms in Indiana, an astounding business. 37,000 dairy cows on one 33,000 acre farm, producing 1.5 million or kilos of milk per day. So 11 units like this that you can see, producing 2.5 million litres of effluent a day as well, that all goes through anaerobic digestion. So each farm has a plant just like this. You can see they're just tanks. These are digesters, producing natural gas and meeting all their energy needs. They run a fleet of 42 trucks delivering their milk around the countryside to Chicago, to Indianapolis. They're totally self-sufficient with natural gas. They've also built a gas station out on the highway that sells gas, and what they do is just phenomenal. The digestate that comes out of all of this also is returned to their land, or has fertiliser extracted from it and is sold in a joint venture as well. the water that comes out of it, they grow duckweed on. The duckweed is then dried, processed, and is feed meal for their animals. They also realised that in the 90s they probably needed to identify some of the bigger risks to their business, and they looked at all the anti-groups in the US, and they didn't have anything to hide, so they decided that they needed to get into educating the public. The scale of this is phenomenal as well. You can see here a birthing barn where anyone can go and see a calf being born 12 hours of the day. Interactive displays going on everywhere. This farm hosts somewhere around 550,000 visitors a year. Quite amazing. And they've also expanded out of dairying into pork. And here you can see a huge barn full of pigs. So you can see pigs being reared, grown, born. And you can see also kids can go into the dairy, see cows being milked. Pretty amazing. They've also partnered with other industry groups. So they've built a pork facility. They've just built one with Land O'Lakes Corporation to look at crops. Next year they are building a chicken egg facility with 1 million hens on farm. All of this is in JV. Also a beef facility, and they're currently building a hotel and a water park. So you can see that what they're doing is quite incredible. So next from Canada, so I'll speak to you then. Thanks.